Hello, Internet. My name is John Kulas. I'm a 20-year professor of industrial and organizational psychology. I'm a 10-year user of R for statistical applications, and for the last 6 or 7 years, I've also been using R to author things like websites and books and technical reports. Um, and tonight, we'll be doing academic manuscripts. So every week, I get together with some other people who are interested in using R. We've been using R exclusively, but in using these statistical platforms to author projects, we get together and just kind of share the projects that we're working on with the hopes of expanding this out and helping out other people who are also interested in using R or Python if you're really into it, R to author things. And the idea here is that there are a lot of resources, static resources available on the internet. YouTube's a great source for those resources, but there aren't a whole lot of interactive resources. So we're taking the concept of office hours here, and every Tuesday at 7 Eastern, we're getting together and we're here available to people that might be working on their own authoring projects if they have questions or stumbling blocks or obstacles or just want someone to bounce some ideas off of. And so, what we've been doing in terms of structure is each week we've taken a little bit of the authoring corner of R and we've kind of just played with it. Sometimes it's more of a workshop tutorial and sometimes it's more open exploration. Um, but the following week we'll always try to present what we discovered in a more linear fashion. And so that comes in the form of a recap. And then tonight, what we're going to be spending most of our time on is that AP Quarto extension again for the Quarto authoring platform. And so hopefully we'll get a guest in here. I think he's probably going to pop in later tonight, a special guest, which is the author of the AP Quarto extension. So that'll be neat chatting with him and kind of getting some ideas and hopefully having a bit of a back and forth there with how that extension's working and how the process of writing it was. I know Diego and I will be interested in that because we're thinking about writing an extension ourselves. Okay, so let's do our weekly transition here into what happened last week.
You remember last time that when Bullwinkle accidentally ate the mooseberries, he was turned into a regular living bomb. Then, hearing a false rumor that Rocky had fallen overboard, he dashed for the door, tripped over it, and hurtled over the ship's rail toward the deck 30 feet below. Luckily for the moose, the ship's swimming pool was directly underneath.
Not so darned lucky. I can't swim.
With a mighty splash, the moose hit the water. An instant later, there was a tremendous explosion, and an ominous cloud hung over the pool.
Bullwinkle, you all right?
Sure, why not?
Yes, fortunately, the explosion had blown all of the water out of the pool, and Bullwinkle was left high and dry and feeling fine.
Except for a slight upset stomach.
What was that big bang I heard?
Must have been my stomach being upset.
Well, darling, there goes 14 episodes of effort up in smoke.
14. We're on number 32 now, so I think we've gone through more than 14 episodes of effort. So what we did last week was we played around with one of the template files that APA Quarto, the extension, gives you on default once you install the extension on your local computer. Yeah, let's get Diego in here to chat with us.
Vamos a ver, ¿qué es lo que pasa con los alcaldes? ¿Qué es lo que pasa con los alcaldes? ¿Qué es lo que sí, qué está pasando con los alcaldes?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Diego. I was sorry, I'm looking through some things here. I was just at the point where we're recapping what actually happened last week. And did you play around at all anymore with the extension since last Tuesday?
No.
Okay. I did. There's actually two example QMDs that come by default. One, the file name is going to be called whatever the folder is that you create. And then that's the one that we played with. There's another one. Oh, look, we actually have our guest here. This is good timing. He can probably explain this better than I can. I should have warned you there, Dr. Schneider, that I play these little goofy intros for people popping
I
on.
saw the. I love the Goofy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
Good. Um, Hi, thanks for popping by. I, I don't think we've ever met personally. I,
Nope.
I know that you're a measurement person as well, right? So you have
Hmm.
interest in measurement. So that's kind of my area. That's
Nice.
my corner of IO psychology. Has traditionally been measurement, and Diego, that's kind of where he's headed too. He just defended his dissertation. What
Yep.
in May was it, Diego?
It was in April.
April.
Nice.
Okay.
Congratulations. And
Yeah. And now, so he was looking for something fairly hardcore psychometric, and he ended up at ETS. So he's now going to do some psychometric work for
oh,
ETS.
fantastic.
So, yeah.
Yep.
So it's a good it's a good connection to have too. I think I'm in the Midwest here, so ACT is kind of our ETS, and I had some connections there, but lost them over the years. So it's nice. It's
Yeah,
nice that Diego landed there.
I did my first 15 years of my career in Normal, Illinois at Illinois State University.
Okay. Yeah, I went to
ACT
Northern.
land.
Yeah,
Yep.
my graduate work was at Northern Illinois. So
Yeah.
the I think my checks as a grad assistant, I think my checks came from Normal, if I remember right, or
Right.
somewhere around there.
The joke was always that we commuted to abnormal as psychologists. Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, and then unfortunately it was a one-way trip, right? In,
That is the way it usually goes. Yeah. Yeah.
so that's awesome that you're here because the last 2 weeks really, we were playing with your extension
Yeah.
and
I,
and
I, I I wish it were a smoother experience for you.
no,
Um,
I want to apologize to you because
yeah.
we didn't read the instructions. we just
Well,
we just
okay.
started playing with it.
But that's the way that it should work. Is that you should just be able to go in there and just have it work without any kind of fuss.
Well, I will
And
say
it,
this. So we're new
yeah,
to Quart. We're fairly new to Quarto. We
yeah.
have, a pretty good background in R Markdown. But your documentation was fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's very thorough. And this morning, I went in there and kind of redid some stuff using your resources a little more
Mhm.
thoroughly. And it turns out that really we we had an issue, and I think we'll probably revisit it this weekend. And maybe you can talk us through it, or
Yeah.
if you want to show us how you intended it to be done. However we want to structure it, I think is fine for us, and whatever you're most comfortable with. But really, one of the issues was I had a bunch of LaTeX packages that needed to be loaded. There was it looked like there were some style files, some
Yeah.
LaTeX style files, and my local machine wasn't ready to do everything that it wanted to do. So after a bunch of installations, then
Right.
the PDF came up fine, which is what we were kind of
Nice.
focused on.
Well, yeah, you wonder why more people don't use R. It
Oh,
requires a bit of expertise, of someone looking over your shoulder and helping you figure out all the little things that can go wrong, and there are lots of them. And part of the problem is that the Quarto extension ecosystem is new, and it's a little intimidating, even for me when I install other people's extensions. I think, gosh, am I doing it right? Oh, and it's the Quarto people were ambitious. They said, okay, let's do it in a language agnostic way that'll work anywhere with any IDE. And to do that, you got to use the terminal for a lot of stuff, and it's tricky.
yeah.
And so there's some things that need to be worked out.
Well, yeah, it probably scares people away. And
Mhm.
I'm, I'm guess your full time job is academic, right? You're a full time
Yes. Yeah.
professor. Is that
Yeah.
correct? And I was up until recently as well. And I'm wondering if you had some of the same those. There's a balancing act where you really
Mhm.
want to get people into this, especially this these platforms that allow for reproducible research to
Yes.
really be fully integrated within a workflow. And once you see it, and I'm sure you see it because you created the package, but once you see it, you can't unsee it, and you don't understand when other people don't see the beautiful value of this, and how many light years ahead of copying and pasting SPSS figures into a Word
Yes.
document. And oh my goodness. But there's a balance between that final outcome that's just miraculous in
Yeah.
many ways, and then that apprehension that someone who maybe went into a field like psychology partially because, and I had this from many students, partially because I don't like numbers or I'm not good
Yeah.
at math,
Right.
or
Right.
and then R I think is fairly user friendly, but just the appearance of it can be
Yeah.
such a obstacle.
Totally
So
intimidating.
yeah,
People have done great work in making our community welcoming, to be enthusiastic. They are catering towards beginners, advanced, and everything in between. So it's a nice thing. I'm really happy when I get to teach R and tell people that R is not just a language.
yeah, in retrospect, I wonder if I kind of I would have liked to have hit a sweet spot
Mhm.
where instead of teaching R, I would have loved to have taught a platform to wrap in your
Mhm.
documentation as well as your analyses. So Markdown or Quarto,
Yes.
but it just seems like such a big chunk for students who are just coming into this, a traditional route, like maybe a measurement class and a
Yeah.
regression class and an experimental class. It seems like a lot to throw at them. So,
I have done it, and I tell people, look, if you're looking for an easy course, you might want to try it another semester. And
I
you
once
know,
I once tried teaching at undergraduates when I was, uh, and I wouldn't make it, so I
yeah,
wouldn't grade them on it. It was just something like optional. Otherwise, it would
yeah. Nothing on
ruin the
my
process.
test has anything to do with R. Yeah, and so it's all the content, but the process of using it. Yeah, I'm happy to say that out of the hundreds of students who have gone through it, only 6 or 7 died during the process. So yeah,
that
so
that's a pretty good rate. I like it. Uh, y-
Were they the TAs?
murder, right? Yeah, right. Yeah,
well, the other thing about that is, and I know not just R, but Posit, right? The new
mhm,
brand of the old R Studio company. Um, I was so happy to see it when they announced their rebrand. It was either JJ Allaire or Hadley Wickham, one of the higher ups in the hierarchy there, was giving a talk, and they mentioned the three pillars of that company,
mhm,
and it is a public benefit corporation, which is kind of
mhm.
a unique way to structure something. So they are out there trying to support this stuff. But the third pillar, and I'm going to butcher the they actually have it in a vision statement or a mission
Yeah.
statement, but it essentially was the support of scientific documentation and writing and
Mhm.
reporting. And so, hopefully they're so ambitious, you're right, with that platform that's agnostic with regard to language, but hopefully that ambition just pays off. I gotta believe that this whole process is going to get a lot smoother
I've
exponentially.
I've been playing around with positron. I can say that the I can see where they're going, and if it's where I think they're going, positron's going to be really fantastic. The one
Okay.
thing that R could not do, our studio, the program couldn't do, is code completion in a really smooth way. It was always clunky, and you can never rely on it to work. It's like as you're typing, what's the next thing what are your options that are coming next? Positron uses the VS Code mechanism for that, and it's just liquid smooth. It's super fast. There's no delay, and no hesitation, and no uncertainty as to whether or not it's going to come up. It just comes up. So it's really
Well,
nice.
that's neat. I have not played with it at all yet.
Mhm.
I know
It's
some.
for the intrepid only. Yeah, it's there are some things that are missing. It's still, I go back and forth. I'm using them both right now. our studio is home for me. I really love our studio. It's got a lot of things that just work. Positron isn't quite there yet. It's by design. It's a beta product right now. But I think that it's going to do for IDEs what Quarto did for uh, uh, scientific
Oh
documents.
wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm really liking the more that we rely and just jump full into the pool in Quarto as opposed to
Mhm.
just dipping our toes in. I'm getting a lot more comfortable with it. Yeah.
Markdown was great, and there are things about it that I miss, and things just comfortable. Um, all the stuff that Yue Shi did is I miss it a little bit, but
He,
Quarto did it was an advance.
he's still supporting some stuff I saw. So there are
Yeah.
some GitHub issues that he's been closing out on
So
Tiny Tech and
he's still doing yeah Tiny Tech. He's still doing Knitter. He's doing a new really lightweight markdown thing. So it's like Knitter, but smaller, cleaner, faster, um, and it does less, but what it does really well.
okay.
So I really like it's like light down or something like that. Yeah,
Well,
it's really nice.
that probably is my major beef with that whole ecosystem is just the proliferation of little
Mhm.
tiny, kind of the same but a little bit different. So your book down,
Yeah,
your blog down, your light down, your mark,
yep.
and
Mhm.
so to me that's where Quarto is just like my one-stop shop, and I'm loving
Yeah,
it.
Quarto's a behemoth. I mean, it's got so many little things that can go wrong, which I found in my journey of making API Quarto, the extension. It was fighting with Quarto. So when you do things that are on the menu, Quarto is seamless and smooth, and it's your friend. When you want to do something off the menu, you struggle.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Hopefully we'll have a little time here to
Yeah.
chat because Diego and I have been talking about we're trying to create a template for his institution, which used to be an institution I was affiliated with as well, but to make it a little easier for the formatting for the graduate school format for theses and dissertations. And we were kind
Mhm.
of kicking around the idea about maybe trying to write an extension instead of what we have been doing, which is a lot of ham-fisted direct
Yep.
LaTeX. So,
My end goal for the Apicorto extension is to make it dissertation friendly. So there's a lot of things that dissertations want that my extension won't do, like um, table table of contents and things like that,
but
and
uh,
title pages and whatnot.
well, that's awesome. So you're thinking about expanding this and supporting this into the future. This is something that
Oh
as
yeah,
a okay.
it's just painful to see how many brain hours are spent on silly things like formatting.
Well, think of a dissertation too, and so
Yeah.
think of a committee member who says, "Diego, how many tables did you have at one point in your dissertation? It was ridiculous. There were like 35 or something."
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just as a joke, even someone might say, "You know what? I'd like you to take table 27 and make it table number two."
Yes.
In the hours that you and I probably spent, Dr. Schneider, in grad school, probably, finding and replacing table two to table 20.
Uh,
Oh my goodness.
oh, my
So
my dissertation, may it rest in peace, is just full of word tables that I had to just tinker with endlessly to get right.
Yup.
Tables are the final frontier of reproducibility. I mean, it seems so simple, and then it gets really, really complicated really fast, especially if
I
you're going for word.
Okay, yeah, I know that what you're rendering to has always had an issue. I saw that you put in we'll get into it. You put in a multi-column split for larger tables and figures, which I appreciate because especially when rendering to a copy edited document, which is nice
Yeah.
to do if you're internally
Yeah.
reviewing it, that was always something that would hang in Papaja anyway. So
So to be clear, Papaja and I are working from the same source. So the APA7 LaTeX package is the engine that does all of the PDF stuff. So
okay.
all I did was funnel the information into that template in LaTeX. The trick was getting it to work in Word.
And that was always another issue with
Yeah,
Papaja. So I'm glad to hear that there's multiple people coming at this from
yeah,
maybe little different angles too. One of the things that we, one of the things when we first saw it as a YAML option in terms of what we render to here,
yeah.
you see it on lines 22 through 25. Just internally, as Diego and I were going through this, we're like HTML. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
why would you ever
To
want
render fast.
HTML? Not only that, but just navigating yourself,
Yeah, yeah.
and just for feedback yourself. And so,
Oh, that's weird.
you get that's just the way I have this hosted. Why the
Yeah,
HTML was a
yeah,
little weird to render.
yeah, yeah.
This is actually not hosted locally. I wanted to have it so if someone
That
else
makes sense.
used these slides.
Sure.
But you do get the Quarto 1.4. I know it's now beyond that, but with the Quarto 1.4 software edition or revision or whatever it's called,
Hmm.
with the upgrade, they had they had a few neat features that we were just kind of going gaga over, and one of them
Hmm.
was this preview upon hover for
Yeah, it's
even
nice.
just yeah, it's just so you get some of that HTML feedback and this
Yeah,
table of contents. It scrolls with you.
yeah, it's really
You
nice.
know, really like that stuff. Um, so one of the we did have some issues. I haven't tried. Do you pronounce it typist or typist?
So when I saw it and read it, I read tipst, but I've been assured that it is typist.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
that's the way my
It,
tongue wants to go just
it's the
naturally.
tradition of weirdly pronounced words like LaTeX.
It's the
Yeah.
most
Well,
tipist.
Yep.
I guess that's one way to think about it.
Yeah, it's in that
Um,
tradition of like, let's make it pronounced weird. It's a shibboleth. It's just
well, so maybe we can just start taking a look at some of the features of this here. Then I can
sure.
share with you if you'd like, kind of what I was doing today, and you
So
can tell me how screwed up I was with the way that I was doing it. I saw, one of the things Diego and I last week we were chatting about was we knew we weren't using it the most efficiently. We
yeah.
we normally operate within project folders and usually connected to GitHub. Didn't do it this time because, and I saw in your documentation you do recommend using that
Mhm.
method too. But we didn't do it this time just because we didn't want to proliferate folders with all the
Sure.
files that were in that extension.
Yeah, you got to work from a project. I mean, it's just yeah.
So
Unfortunately, the installation is tricky, and this is not my fault. It's just it's Quarto. There's some restrictions about you can either add the extension to an existing project that goes smoothly and seamlessly, but if you want to install the template, you have to install it to a blank document directory, and so
and
that
so
was tricky. And watching you guys fight with that made me think, oh, I need to make an R package that just has a one-stop, just install it. And so I just put it up a few minutes ago. It's got one little command. You run it, and you navigate to the folder where you want your thing to go, and it'll just install it. I can't promise that it works smoothly for everybody because I just did it, but watching you guys struggle with it made me think there's got to be a better way.
well, I'm sure there is, and I'm glad to hear that you're still working on this stuff.
Yeah.
And I assume that's a dev version of what you have. I
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
don't remember where
It's not done. Ultimately, what I want is to create a Shiny app that you fill out all the fiddly stuff, like the author and the affiliation and all the little options. You hit go, and then it'll create on your machine a folder, a project, and your document with a well structured. And ideally, it would be tied to JATS, the journal,
Oh, sure. The different formats for the different
and sorry, not JATS, JARS. It's the APA recommendations for for creating documents. So what I want is it an app that walks you through a set of decisions? What kind of document is it? A meta-analysis? Is it going to be a qualitative paper? Is it a student paper? And then once you're done with all the fiddly stuff, it'll just make everything. And so you don't have to worry about all this command line
Well, are
stuff.
That's
you, sorry, Diego, let me jump in there quick and then you can jump in. Is that something you might do in the existing repo or make a new one for that? And are those public? I guess I didn't check.
It
Because,
would always be public.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I mean that's my goal. I never want to make money off this. I'm well paid by the taxpayers of Pennsylvania, and very happy to contribute to whatever I can.
Well, I was just thinking Diego's getting, so he's getting pretty good at Shiny. And so if that were, on a public repo, he might be someone who would be interested in
I
helping
would
out with
love
some, yeah.
help. I got a lot of help. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name exactly because I've only corresponded in text. Matt War, I believe is in Germany, and he helped me get the typist template to go. And this is makes me super excited because LaTeX is so finicky and it breaks all the time.
Yep.
And typist is just more robust and flexible. And what it'll allow us to do is to have much more variety of documents and formats. So ultimately, that's the way I want to take this.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So, we probably don't have time tonight, but I'd be curious to chat with you a little more about that. My kind of surface level
Mhm.
oversimplification of things, I in my head I had typist as like a LaTeX light that still just produced PDFs, but the
It
way you're
is
describing
better,
it's a lot
better
more
than
than that. Okay.
LaTeX on many dimensions. LaTeX, of course, is old and mature, and it's got so much cool stuff associated with it. I'm not dogging on LaTeX, but it doesn't. It's not a it's not a programming language of recent vintage, and so it has some quirks, and it's not really user friendly, I have to say.
Gotcha. Now, when you mention one of the, I guess one of the obstacles to starting a project fresh or putting it in an existing directory, you
Yeah.
mentioned a template. Now,
Yes.
are you
So,
just referring to the QMD that comes up
yes.
named as the fold? Okay,
Yes. That's the one.
because
And
we played with this, but I didn't find this as helpful. I mean, it's great and it's a good starting point,
sure.
but once I found out that you also had an example
Yeah.
basically full document in there,
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, that's what I want. And
Yes.
that's when it really took off for me today. So if that template's the stumbling block, I mean, maybe you don't need it.
So yeah, it's fun. Um, that originally, the one that's called example originally was the template, and a number of advanced users said, "Please pare this back.
Yeah, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, give us something simple and something we can fill in, and have the example as a separate thing that people can ignore." And so, meeting the needs of the new user and the advanced user is always there are trade offs.
That's tough. And like, I'm out of the academic space, and I think I probably will be for the rest of my work career. But I still feel a really strong call to try to attract more people to using these
Yeah,
workflows. And
yeah,
so
yeah.
I get it. I'm always probably going to err on the side of the person who is intimidated when they look at this and try to make it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear you're
Yeah,
doing that.
it's it, the light sometimes goes on when I say, okay, I'm going to write this document once, and then we're going to feed 100 names into it, and we're going to create 100 documents all at once, customized and personalized to the various recipients. And people go, oh, okay, that's what you can do. Now I get it.
All right. Well, maybe I need to hire you as a marketing person. I don't know. I
So
never.
my first recommendation is to create a project in the folder where you're working. So like make
Okay.
wherever that is, um, yeah, do a new project, and things will just go smoother. Won't have to set the working directory anymore. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, and so that again, so if someone stumbles across this, especially with these authoring documents, I think, and when they
yeah,
proliferate in terms of number of files and images and data, and uh, working within a project folder obviates that need to every time you're calling something out to call out its folder location. Everything is
yes,
just
yeah.
going to be on the root directory, and so
The it has been a stumbling block. I've told students over and over again about projects and the joys of projects, and out of hundreds, two or three have taken my advice um, after much pleading. um,
yeah.
and Positron has, I think, decided, yeah, the project thing just isn't going to work. Just have them open a folder, and it works like a project. So you don't in Positron, you're not really,
Really?
yeah, you're not really
Yeah.
having to create a project every time as a separate step. You just say, well, I'm going to open up the folder, and now it acts like a project.
Yeah, it's like you have it on the corner, just like the project in our studio.
Yep,
It's just called folders, but it's the same thing.
super nice.
And do you also have like like if you don't want to access the project from the IDE, you want to just click a button inside yeah, like in your desktop? Is it like the environment thing that you have for projects where it automatically opens your project in our studio as the same thing?
Yeah,
It's neat.
yeah. The project does more than just find files. It's got a few like settings in there and whatnot, but so I think you can still use projects in Positron, but it removes that stumbling block.
That's great to hear. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up what we were working with last week, which I haven't played with yet. We were just kind of changing title
Yeah,
and running head and
yeah.
author and just seeing how that works. And then really where we started to stumble was in
I,
the format lines. And
I know what's about to happen. Yeah. So
okay,
uncomment that. So
okay.
yeah, bring that back. And
And
now
so
the thing that you're missing is the render button has a drop down box.
okay,
And so if you that little drop down box, um,
there we go. I
my
had to
render
kind of
button has a
expand.
drop
No,
down.
no,
There it is. Okay,
it
yeah,
does.
yeah,
I just had to expand it.
yeah.
Okay.
And
So
so if you select whichever version that you need, there it'll render the one that you render. There is a way to make all of the formats render simultaneously, but it's through the terminal. So you
okay.
type Quarto render, and it'll just render, and then the name of the document. So if you say Quarto render, this apaquarto.qmd, it'll render all the formats that it has.
Okay.
Whereas
That's
in the IDE, you're doing one at a time through that drop down thing.
gotcha. So yeah, that was something from the structure. And again, we're not Quarto experts, but from using some of the other types of things you can render to, for example,
Mm-hmm.
books. So we played with
Yeah,
books for a while,
yeah,
and in the books there was a lot of kind of messing around in the YAML here in this type of section to
yeah,
actually get multiple formats to all render simultaneously.
yeah.
And they did have a way, and the place where that really ended up being useful. Let me go to the broader one here,
Uh-huh.
and this is your example. I actually ended up so I don't have to comment out any of this
Nope.
stuff. So those should stay in there, right? Is your
Yep.
recommendation?
I mean, just so you can, do whatever you want. I work rendering to HTML every single time until I'm getting close to the end. So I should probably put HTML at the top so that it's the default.
Well, I can tell you that for someone like me, an
Yeah.
alternative way that would be consistent with the way that I work with things, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't have to change anything for this extension, is I actually do find it helpful to just leave those in there, but comment out
Yeah. Yeah.
the ones that I, might not be interested
Always
in,
an
and
option.
then
Yeah.
the render comes through. The place that it really I noticed that something was a little different was in your HTML when you had on the side. Oh, no, it's gone. And this is maybe this will be instructive in terms of user error type things or the way that users might intuitively try to work. If because
Yes.
I really like you have I really like that you have the book type, the Quarto book type options come out
Yeah.
on the sidebar in terms of here's the PDF or here's the typist
Yeah. That's just
format.
Quarto out of the box. That it just did that.
Yeah, but so what happened to me
Yeah.
was I was playing around with document modes. I was playing around with a manuscript versus the copy edited
Yeah.
version of it, and once I render, this is going to be available,
Yes.
but it's
But
not. But now what I know what happened because if I were to go in and change this to man,
yeah.
right? My expectation would be well now within HTML if I
Yeah.
access the
Yeah. And
PDF,
it's
but
not
it's
working.
not
And yeah.
because
Right. Yeah.
well it's obviously working, but it's not integrated in the way that I thought it was through the YAML. But anyway,
Yeah.
that
There's in some ways Quarto doesn't conform to my expectations because it says, oh, preview, which means render one document. Render means everything. But when you click the render button, it doesn't render everything. It really previews. That's all it does.
interesting. Okay. Well,
And there may be some setting that you can set so that when you hit render, it really does render everything. But that takes a long time to render. And so speed is
oh
super important.
yeah, no, I totally get it with I think your way is better.
Yeah.
Just because of that speed option.
So the good news about Typist is that it's super fast. So LaTeX it takes some time to render. Typist is lightning quick, and it comes out PDF.
Okay.
So it's nice.
That's neat. Yeah, and I really love this HTML option.
Yeah.
Maybe as long as you're here. And by the way, I'm gonna have to go close to the top of the hour. And
Mhm.
thanks for coming. You
Sure.
can whenever you need to pop off, feel free. But one of the things that we tried, and I didn't try it this morning, but as long as you're here, we can try it. Was the line numbers? That's another kind of helpful
So yeah,
internally when you're passing documents around.
so that works in PDF.
Okay.
So it works in Word if you're using Word. So the way that I
Okay.
did
Yeah.
it, is that I told Word, "Hey, turn on the line options," and so it dutifully does. But the other programs don't always work. So if you open it up in Google Docs or in Office Libre or something like that, your mileage may vary.
Gotcha. No, that's great to know. I wonder, Diego, do you feel like maybe opening up and sharing?
Sure.
Because I don't have any Microsoft products, so
Yeah.
it's
It,
nothing really philosophical. It's just I started doing
no,
the
I
full
get it.
on using Arc.
I'm using Word less and less. I, I really love Excel,
Found with
but I'm
students
using
that
that
they
less and less.
okay. But the students, I think, kind of weaned me off of Word because they all started using Google.
Yes,
Google, what is
yes,
it?
they did.
Or whatever the Google one is. Yeah.
Google
And by
Docs.
the
Yeah.
way, that's another reason to, yeah, it's a little bit better than the traditional way of structuring something like an academic
Mhm.
manuscript, but not a whole lot because
So
it's
which one is
those.
it?
Oh, let me see if I can blow you up a little bit. I didn't push it to our repo, Diego, so you're gonna have to do maybe a local install. But so that makes total sense that last week when, and I'll shut up. Maybe Dr. Schneider wants to walk you through, or if you want to ask questions. But let me just say quickly, last week when we were trying to enable the line numbers, I don't have Microsoft, and I didn't have the LaTeX packages to get the
Yeah.
PDF to generate. So that makes total sense. One before while Diego's looking here, one thing I guess I have a question with the syntactic structure in the YAML of those different document types.
Yep.
When we say default after HTML,
Hmm.
Word, PDF, etc.,
Yeah.
that's just saying what all of the different modifying options are. I don't care. Just give me the default. Is that
Yep.
correct? Am I
That's right.
okay? Okay.
It's a stumbling block because what if you don't want default? Do you keep the default there? You don't. You have to erase it, and then you go to the next line, and then you indent two spaces. It's all finicky.
But that was your example file, was fine for that because
Yeah.
anyone that has some exposure to the structure of YAMLs within documents like this, you
Yeah.
know, we know that the indenting is finicky, and we've come to know over the course of working with Quarto and Markdown where you know you
So,
take a
so
value up here and you indent it. Sorry, I'll
yeah,
shut up.
Diego, you're going to want to either make a folder that doesn't exist, or right now you're creating a new project in a weird spot
Okay, I can just
inside Git, and that's going to be strange.
so I put it in the desktop or
Just find anywhere that is like a regular folder, but don't install into a Git folder
okay. I'll just put it in documents.
unless you made that Git folder. I don't.
Like this?
Yeah, sure, and then call it something.
Well, Diego, I think he wants
Yeah.
it to be empty though too, correct?
No,
Or
it's
does that
fine. No,
not matter? Okay.
it's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
And then it has that markdown editor thing checked. It's aggressive. It really wants you to use it. I don't like it.
What is that? Oh,
The
you
the
mean
visual editor.
all right. A like-minded kinfolk there. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't. That was not an addition to this IDE that I welcomed, and I
I
still,
I keep turning it off, and
yeah.
in the project there's a setting that will say never have it, and it just keeps coming back. I don't know
They
why.
really want you to use it, even in
Yeah,
some
they
of
really
the
do.
some of the template files that they have for a dashboard or for a book
Yeah,
or whatever. It says right in the YAML, it'll say editor, visual,
yeah,
and that's the first thing I go in and change. So.
yeah. All right. So you're gonna want to. So either we can create a new folder inside the folder you just made, or we can install to this folder that you just made. So if you want to do the template thing all in one go, you would type into the terminal
Oh,
Quarto.
yeah, I can
You,
pull those up too.
I think it's use template. One word.
I'm gonna pull those up.
Like that?
Well, uh, it's hard to see.
I I
Oh, let me
think
let me
I
We
think so. I'm almost there.
yeah, I'm almost there too. Navigating to his help page with the installation, and we're doing terminal R. But
Okay, yeah,
okay,
it's
yeah,
two
there's also
words.
the
It's two words. You had it right the first time. So use template, and then even typing into the console is tricky because the backspace doesn't work. It's all sorts of weird stuff.
yep.
All right, and then WJ. SCHNE and WJS.
WAS.
No, sorry.
I'll post it in the
Starting
chat too.
WJS.
There we go. Oh no, I can copy.
Great.
Oh, because you're in there as me, aren't you again, Diego? I'll put it in the private chat. So this software that we're using to do this, it automatically hyperlinks
Yeah.
if you're the owner
Nice.
of it.
All right. So when you click that, say, yes, we trust. I mean, I don't know if you do, but trust me for this purpose. All right. And then now say yes, and then type something or, whatever you want. There you go. And now say yes or no, it doesn't really matter. And it'll open up the thing. Okay, now inside there, go into that new folder. See where it's, yeah. And then click on, now what we want to do is make that into a project. So you're going to go to make a project, but existing folder. New. Oh, yeah, you don't need to save.
Do I have to save one? Yeah.
You don't have to, yeah. So, yeah, and then existing directory, and find the something in something. There you go. Yep, that's it. And now
Something.
create. Yep.
Should have called it nothing.
Right. Nothing in something.
You're making
Okay,
something out of nothing.
now we're good, right? So it's got everything that we would want. So you can open up either the something QMD or the example QMD. So the something is the basic template, and the example is the more full-featured one. Okay, now it's telling you, hey, if you want this to run, you better install those two packages.
So Diego and I probably use similar helper packages, and so
Yeah.
Flex Table was one that I hadn't had installed either. I'm guessing that's one that works well with
Word.
with Word. Okay.
Yeah. So David, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Gohel, or yeah, it's all in French language, but he's written the Officer package and the related things. And if you need to do something off the menu with an Office product, that is the way to do it. And Flex Table is something that anything that Word can do in tables, Flex Table can do.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
It works really quickly without any fuss. But then if you need to fiddle with it, you can fiddle endlessly.
Well, because I don't know if I looked at the Word version, but certainly HTML and the PDF versions, it looked like those tables, those example tables, were rendering very nicely. Like that looked just surface level, like it was APA format, and that's just straight from Flex Table.
Yep.
Okay, because I think what we've got in the habit of doing, since we mostly render to PDFs, we've been using some of the Papaja helper functions for formatting, and those tend to be pretty slick. But it would be nice just to have that Flex Table option.
Papaja is such an amazing bit of work. It was light years ahead of its time, and I was just waiting for someone to do it. Yeah, he was. I think it's a lot of work to do all that, and I think he decided, I'm not going to make a career out of this, and so I kept waiting. Someone's got to adapt it to the 7th edition, but no one ever did. So
no, but this is so cool. Oh, speaking of that, so I saw you had the APA 7 citation style language file automatically in this, so there's no citation style override necessary. That's auto in this extension that you wrote.
Yep.
and it sounds like you're all in on it. So when APA 8 comes out,
it'll
sure.
just, yeah, we'll do another one. So all of the YAML stuff, it looks like a lot, and it is. What I did is I went through the entire manual And
Oh,
every
wow.
time it said, do this in the third paragraph of that, I put it in as an option. Like I tried to put in everything.
Yeah.
If there's something missing, I'm very happy to put it in because I want
Um,
it to be complete. I never
how
want to have to fiddle with APA format ever again.
I'm with you. And hopefully other people are into this as well. That's
Yeah,
it just this is going to throw us off track a little bit,
yeah.
but I got to ask since you're here, and Diego and I have been having a hard time with this. Wh- Where are you defining those keys that you're using in the YAML, if that makes sense?
Oh,
Like,
how do I get
how do you define
something
for,
like,
yeah, like a deceased field, for
yeah,
example, and
right. So what's happening is that I had to learn Lua
okay.
last year, and it was a weird language. I'm not a computer programmer. I just try to do the
Oh,
best I
here it
can.
is. This one.
Yes. So there's a ton of these um, uh, Lua filters. What it does is that Pandoc uh, takes all of the markdown stuff and it creates this abstract tree of tags and things like that. And then Lua is this super fast language that just walks through that tree as many times as you need, and it makes the changes as it goes. So you tell it like every time there's a header, do this, and every time that there's a this after a that, but not before that, uh, it'll make a change. And so basically, what I did is I said, all right, you're going to construct the title page, go up to the YAML, find that field, insert it right there. If it's blank, leave it alone.
Gotcha.
So I don't have
All
to
right.
define the thing. I just have to have a Lua filter that knows where to look.
Gotcha. Well, okay, that's just completely out of what we were trying to do, so that's
Yeah,
appreciated.
yeah.
So we'll have to
At
revisit
first,
that.
last year when I first made this, it was a fully R solution. I processed everything in R, but I wanted to stay close to the spirit of Quarto, which is language agnostic. And so this year I completely rewrote it and did it all in Lua, so that now Quarto will the extension will work with any language that Quarto works with.
That's amazing.
There's no R at all in there.
So, but where users are going to see that is only at the chunk level, I'm guessing?
Yes, yeah. So you can
Yes.
put a chunk of any kind that you
Yeah.
want, but the processing of the document itself doesn't use R. It doesn't touch R.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's interesting because I think that's one of the things that Quarto is kind of not made a decision on either, because I know some of the ways that we would format things before, just relying on
Mm-hmm.
knitter being the
Yes.
processor.
So
It
Quarto
was it
does
was
use knitter,
okay.
so
We have there.
but it uses many. It has several different options for rendering documents. That's at the pre processing of like taking the Quarto to Markdown. But once the Markdown's ready, that's where the extension kicks in. So
Okay.
there's lots of different renderers that take the R programming stuff or the Julia or the Python or whatever to get into a pure Markdown document. And then
So
once that happens, then the extension kicks in.
so you said you're not a programmer. When you were going through grad school and thinking about your career, did you
Yeah.
did you think you'd be using these words at this point in your
No,
career?
not at all. I wanted to be a family therapist, and I wanted to help people with, have better relationships and things like that. That was the main thing I wanted to do. And
Well,
I found I had this little knack for programming, and so it was fun.
you're helping us have a better relationship with writing manuscripts. So
Nice.
I hope I
So
hope you,
before time runs out, I just wanted to talk about some of the features that are in there
yeah,
that
please.
I'm just really proud of. So I just put in. So there's a few little things like masked citations that you don't want your own work cited in your manuscript, so you can tag it as masked. There are things like
Well, the one that I saw was that split. I did see the mass citations. Luckily, I'm not
Yeah,
prolific enough to ever have to use that, but it's good that it's in there.
right.
Yeah.
Then there's possessive citations where you want to say like Dr.
Oh,
Hansen's
apostrophe
1995.
S.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. That I had to write a little filter that made that happen. And
Interesting.
yeah,
Well,
there's a whole bunch of little things like that that I
yeah,
had to work on. Um,
that's
it'll handle your meta analytic citations properly, and that took a lot of work to make happen. And then the hardest one of all, and it seems so simple, was to get those appendices to work,
oh,
because I had to like go deep into the guts of Quarto to run everything myself and then extract the information properly so that it would at the end say like table 1A or A1 and table B3 and all that kind of stuff. That was tricky. And so it works now. So I'm just really happy that it does
and are you using this for your own
all the
research and
time.
papers? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just read it last year. So I wrote one paper that's now published that started soup to nuts using API Quarto, and then several more are in the process. And it's that process, me writing, that has made whatever improvements are useful in there, because I suddenly found like, oh, I need this. The next step is the reply letter. And I discovered
Oh,
after I was done that Frederick Oss, the guy who did Papaja,
yeah.
already did it. He already did it.
Yeah.
And so, but mine has some features that he didn't anticipate. So I'm still using mine because I already did it. But his
Yeah.
is super good. His is so
Go
good. But
ahead.
he's not advertising it very much. But the problem with a reply letter is that you want to quote to people the parts of your paper that are different, and you want to say, okay, on page 7, so and so, we wrote this now instead of that. Um, but what I found is that every time I made an edit and I thought I was done, it turns out, no, I wasn't. I had to fix the manuscript. And then I had to go back into my reply letter and recopy everything just to make sure that my reply letter had the current language. And I thought, surely there's a way to automate this. And it turns out there is. And so what you do is you put a little reference to the part of your document that you want to cite in your reply letter, and it just reaches in to the markdown and finds it and just inserts whatever the current version is, rather than you having to copy and paste it over.
So how are you implementing that? Is that I know in Papaja they have two different templates. They have the
Yeah,
manuscript and then
yeah.
they have a letter
So
to
it's
editor.
it's not available yet because
Okay,
I'm
okay.
still working on it, but it,
Are
uh,
you
it it worked really nicely. It has formatting for the reviewer 6 said this, and six reviewers. Reviewer 3, reviewer 3 says this, and then our response, and so it has this comment response format, and it's based on the APA format recommendations. They actually have recommendations for what a reply letter should look like, so it uses that.
Well, that's fantastic.
Hmm.
Looking forward to checking that out once we how should we stay informed on like major updates that you're putting into the extension?
So I've been
Just
very thorough with the change log.
yeah, I see that.
So every time there's a change, I just document it, and my change log is really long now, but it's there. I have
So
not yet made a video about how to do this, and I know that's necessary, mostly because things are still in flux.
sure.
And
Yep.
I've been benefiting from people like you who've been trying things out and seeing where the stumbling blocks are. Once I get a sense of things are more stable and I'm not updating it all the time, that's when I'll make the video, and that's when I'll start to make the Shiny app and all that. But
Okay.
for now, I'm satisfied that it makes a good APA formatted document in PDF and Word.
And I'm really liking what I see out of that HTML. I think I would
Yeah.
probably be using that, and I don't think it's for speed reasons necessarily on my end because
Sure.
I don't care as much about that. But just the feedback and the personal revision and just kind of
Yeah.
interaction with your you
Yeah.
get
It's
so
nice.
sick of your own words and just your own
Yeah.
writing, and just having that nice
Yeah.
interactivity at least gives it a little bit of fun. So
Yeah. So
okay.
last time, Diego, you discovered that the abstract did not translate to Spanish, uh, and that was because I put in a request to the gods of Quarto to fix something because it wasn't translating in typist, that it was hard coded as abstract, and they fixed it. And in the fixing, broke my thing, and so uh, which is fine. I asked for it, right? But watching you see, oh, it's not translated. I went in and fixed it. So the latest version does translate, but it does. The internationalization is super important to me. I spent some time living in Argentina, and I really like speaking Spanish with people and talking with other scholars in Spanish. And my Spanish is now a little rusty, but making sure that the whole world can use this is really important.
So is that the entire abstract like you would see in an international journal? Or is it just the word abstract?
So
But
it translates all of the things that you would want translated automatically. Things like
okay.
table and
Sure.
figure and author, and anything that it's doing for you, it'll translate. Now, if you want your title in Spanish, it will not translate your title into Spanish. You have to write in Spanish
Yep.
uh, or French or whatever you want to, put in there. But the automatic language translation, I'm hoping this will work. Uh, um, yeah,
Oh, you're
it
trying it
should.
live here, Diego.
Yeah, let's see it. Let's see how it goes.
Well, the other thing, Dr. Schneider, anytime you want, we're trying to kind of proselytize this stuff a little bit, just
Yeah,
trying to get more people to put their code and their documentation in one space. And so I'm gonna keep doing this, for a
yeah,
while until I just run out of gas with it. And Diego seems to be on board. And anytime you want to stop by and chat, that'd be fantastic. Or if there's
excellent.
anything new that comes up, that'd be great too.
So I'm really happy. I'm seeing figura, tabla,
That's
resumen.
awesome.
Yeah, so now the stuff that I wrote in English is still English, but a Spanish speaker can write all that themselves.
Diego,
Um,
you're
yeah,
gonna vet that out. You're gonna say that's legit Spanish, Espanol.
Yeah, figura.
That's so awesome. And again, just a
Oh, and we have
simple
nota.
value that
yeah,
you
We have
change
nota
within
too.
the YAML, right?
yeah. So anything that was
That's super
that
cool.
it inserts automatically, it should translate to the proper language. And there's a few things that I had to do custom. So some of the stuff Quarto handles automatically, and then there's some stuff that I had to hard code in myself and give you the option of translating it to whatever you want. So if you don't like tabla and you want something else, you can tell it, well, what do you want the translation to be?
I really do have to go, but I'm curious
All
about
right.
that. Like how does that work? I mean, maybe session two. So we'll
Sure.
have to
Yeah.
have maybe a second session on that. Thanks so much for stopping by. It was good meeting you, and thanks for
Excellent.
putting out this extension. If you don't mind, Diego, or I, at some point might drop you a random email and say, hey, we're working on this too, and how did you get around it?
Yeah. My standing offer is
Because
that I'm happy to help anybody with all of this.
love to hear it. Thanks, and it's
Great.
much appreciated. All right, you
Well, this
guys.
is fun.
Listen.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Thanks so much.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
Take care.
All right, see you guys.